Well, this is Mr. Jern, and this is a very quick introduction to energy sources, the non-renewable, renewable, and inexhaustible types. So first of all, a couple definitions. First of all, energy is the ability to do work. That's basically what it is. It's not matter. It's not. There's not something you could touch. It's just the ability to do work. It's a measurement that we use. Uh, Basically, in energy sources, they're defined as either non-renewable, renewable, or inexhaustible. Okay, so and one thing to keep in mind is that the sun is the original source of almost all energy on Earth. Okay, but let's talk about those three types of energy that we use. So there's a picture of the sun. So non-renewable energy sources is exactly what it sounds like. They are sources of energy that cannot be replaced once used. Things like fossil fuels, like coal, oil, natural gas. Okay, so those are all non-renewable energy sources. Once they're used up, they're gone. Keep in mind that we often hear the word alternative energy, and that's any fuel that's not identified as a fossil fuel. So anything else besides these fossil fuels is an alternative energy because fossil fuels is the main source of energy that we use. So let's talk about some other non-renewable energy sources, which again, once we use them up, they're gone. So things like uranium. There's only a certain amount of uranium in the Earth that's accessible to us. So we use that for nuclear energy. I was so careful to say it correctly that it came out wrong. We use it for nuclear energy, fission. Basically, fission is when large atoms, such as uranium, they're so unstable and because they're so large that they can break apart and release energy. And that's what's going on. That's a nuclear reaction. Okay. As of several years ago, this has been increasing year to year, and this slide shows a couple years old now. But as of a few years ago, 20% of the world's electricity comes from nuclear power. Okay, that is ever shifting and ever changing. So those are non-renewable energy sources. Then there's renewable energy sources. These are sources that can be replaced once used. Right? Nice and easy. So things like animals, believe it or not. We've used animals as a renewable energy source or humans have used animals as an energy source forever. Okay, I mean, here's an example of it right there in that picture. What else? Food. Okay, we use food. It's renewable. It's something that can be replaced once used, not just in our bodies and animals' bodies, but in some power plants and some power plants, we burn food to extract the energy from them. Biomass. Things just again, it's not food. You wouldn't count it as food, but it's stuff that's grown. Okay, so anything that can be burned and the energy harvested from it that you wouldn't call food is considered biomass. And we turn that into biofuel. We turn that into things like methanol and ethanol, two different types of alcohol that can be burned to be used. So those are renewable. Okay, anything that can be basically renewed. Typically things that are grown. Okay, life things. Then we have what's called inexhaustible energy sources. Energy sources that never go away. They're always going to be there no matter how much we use up. Okay, I mean to a certain point, of course. First is hydroelectric. It's just using the flow of water to generate electricity. So basically this can be things like the dams. It could be using tidal energy, energy used by the coming and going of the tide caused by the gravitational pull of the moon. But anything involving water moving can be considered hydroelectric. Okay, so here's a diagram of a hydroelectric dam, where you got the intake, and it just kind of goes through a turbine, which is where the electricity is generated. You can see the wires coming out, and then the water rejoins the river there. So tidal, I already mentioned that. That's the tide coming in and leaving. Okay, inexhaustible. It's always going to be there. Geothermal, huge one. Iceland. They use geothermal for so much stuff because they have so much nice hot water down there. But basically, geothermal is using the difference between the hot water and the heat below the earth and the different temperatures above the earth. So It's nice and, again, inexhaustible. You're never going to run out of heat in the earth. Okay. Wind. There's plenty of wind farms nearby. Captures the energy of moving air, of the wind. Why does wind move? Why does air move? Partly because of the sun. So, but I mean, it's considered wind energy. Then, of course, the big one, solar energy. That's huge. That is a very, very important. I mean, all of these are important, but there's a very important inexhaustible energy source. So as you can see, solar panels in these pictures, which again, these pictures are kind of getting aged a little bit. Solar is becoming super popular and super cheap nowadays. Okay. So there's different ways to harvest it with either solar cells, or you got these little towers out in where there's a lot of sun in the deserts and stuff typically. So lots of ways to do it. So that's inexhaustible. So to recap, inexhaustible is energy sources that we'll never run out of. Renewable are things that can be grown and can be replaced, energy sources. And then there's non-renewable, things like coal, natural gas, and oil, and uranium to an extent, which is non-renewable, cannot be replaced once used up. Have a good one.